time. Welcome to our podcast on psychology, chapter 4, about development. I am here today with Connor, Bo, Jacob, and Lindsay, and we will be discussing, we're going to start by discussing emerging adulthood, and then we will end today with just a general discussion about development. So how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for asking.
I'm all right.
Oh, Jacob's okay.
I'm okay.
Tired.
It's Tuesday.
It is a Tuesday, September 26th,
Yep.
right? All right. So
It's
sneak
almost my
at the
birthday.
date. Oh,
Happy early birthday.
2 months.
And then when it is your birthday, what stage of development will you be in?
The stage of development I will be in is adolescence. I will still be in adolescence, which is between the teen years and the 20s. I'm still in my teens, so I'll be 18 at the time.
Okay.
I'll be ready to smoke if I prefer to, but I am probably not going to make that decision.
Do you feel that your frontal lobe is fully formed?
No, definitely not.
Okay, good. You're still making bad choices. Good,
Yes.
Good.
How about Peyton?
My sister is not.
Isn't this at all?
She's dependent on the cat for her emotional stability.
So we're going to talk about a stage that is new to psychology called emerging adulthood, which is sort of this gap between adolescence and full-on adulthood. So really, when Bo's saying he's turning 18 in 2 months, right?
2 months.
He kind of will be into the emerging adulthood category. Not so much an adolescent, but not yet a fully functional adult. So does anyone here know anyone between the ages of 18 and 25?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, excellent. So can you just very briefly describe to me what the life of someone 18 to 25 in your experience is?
College, living,
Trying to get a job.
either living in a dorm or with others.
Or with their parents still.
Or
if they're going like to a local college.
Yes.
My brother is married.
Trying to find a mate.
All right, that's good. All right, so we are at that stage where you're trying to form kind of life commitments, right? So you have experience. Your brother has found that commitment. So you are there, still searching-ish, and still at home, your person, and with friends and a cat. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Cat doesn't live there anymore.
Oh, the cat got. They did.
Yeah,
kick
it
the cat.
was her or the cat.
With the cat.
And she did kick out the cat.
She gave it to her next door neighbors, which consist of 4 boys living in a house together.
Oh, jeez.
Oh.
So she
Yeah.
gets to visit him often.
That cat's not going to make it.
They
Okay.
have another cat. It's okay. It's living
Really,
well.
boys aren't cat
Chinese
collectors. Interesting. Okay, so the psychology has created this category called emerging adulthood to take care of people within that gap between adolescence and adulthood, because adolescence is marked by being a fully independent, fully functional adult, meaning every aspect of their life they are completely in control of. They are in control of their own finances. They are in control of their own living situation. They are in control of their own social whatever. In your opinion of these 18 to 25-year-olds, and it sounds like some of you are saying, no, this person is a adult. Is the person that you are thinking of between the ages of 18 and 25 a emerging adult, or do you think they are fully independent, becoming an actual adult?
I think my brother is definitely fully developed adult. I believe that he can do everything that he's capable of on his own.
All right, fully independent.
My sister is an emerging adult.
Why?
Because even though she can make her own like financial like decisions and whatnot, there is like voices like I guess in the back of her head, like my parents and my grandpa. Like my grandpa is financially like helping her out currently. So like even though she has a job and she's at college and she's living like technically like independently, there is those like
supports.
Yes.
Okay.
The influences that cause her to make some of her decisions.
All right, so very good. So that's a good illustration of how an emerging adult has some aspects of their life that they are fully independent of, but yet have those strings attached, those supports are still in place.
I'd say my brother is fully independent because now he has to start paying for his own college money, and he lives with his wife, and they do all the things together.
Okay.
My cousin is probably an emerging adult because she's still living at home. She's going to college, but like, yeah, she's getting money from her parents, and she doesn't have a job yet. So.
Okay. So, and what we're seeing is 20 years ago, this category of emerging adult didn't really exist. We had to kind of create it because we found that after age 18, so when Bo turns 18 in 2 months, it doesn't mean that he's ready to be... Are you ready to be a complete independent adult in 2 months?
Sometimes I think that, but most of the time, no.
Right, okay.
Heck yeah.
I think early childhood is probably the best.
So, tell me... It's okay. Tell me, as we end here, we're going to talk about all stages of development. Which age do you think is the best, and why?
I think early childhood is because, like, their parents are still with them, and they have, like, that plasticity in their brains, so they're still learning from, like, what their parents do and just what people do around them, so...
Okay, anyone else want to jump in on early childhood?
I would agree with early childhood because for me, when I first remember what was going on was on my 4th birthday. So I feel like I started learning more, the most things during my 4 to 6 years of age.
And it's all downhill at what point?
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so that was the peak, and then when has it started to dip?
I feel like I was still learning, but I wasn't learning as much as I did in the early childhood.
Okay. Early childhood?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, same exact reasons?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and you mentioned something, you still have your parents with you, and that support is nice. So my argument to early childhood is that you have almost no independence whatsoever in early childhood. So is that at all important in development, to have independence, or is it better to just be completely dependent on others?
I think it's important to have independence because once, you're out of your parents' house, you don't know what to do. You're so used to being dependent on other people. So when you don't have anybody else to lean on, you don't know where to go.
Good. Lindsay, what's your age?
Elderly.
The elderly.
Pre-death.
It is best right before you die. For what reason?
You get to, look back on all your experiences and, most elderly, not all, some work until they're dead, but most retire and live on pretty much, they're not some are dependent, my grandfather, for instance, dependent on us just because of his circumstances, but usually you just get to spend all the money you have left and get to have a fun, happy life.
Yes.
And then you get to die. And then everyone else gets all your stuff.
But I like the fact that you mentioned you get to look back on all your experiences, because versus what the boys are saying about early childhood being the best, because that's when you're able to do a lot of stuff and gain more memories, you're able to have those memories when you're an older adult, so you can look back at your life more than you can when you're a younger person.
What do you think is the most important? Okay. What do you think is the most important stage of development?
Well, from what we will uncover in class, I think you're going to find out that young adulthood is the best stage of development. Although your brain is getting weaker and you're not at peak capacity anymore, physically you're at peak capacity, which has to be a good feeling. It's really all downhill when you hit 30 as far as what you're physically able to do. And honestly, it's really nice to not have to worry about the problems of adolescence, which, I didn't put this down on the thing, but which stage do you think is the worst of development?
Adolescence. Or right before adolescence.
Puberty stage.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, the problems and the issues that you guys have to deal with and navigate through adolescence is probably the most traumatic.
Because I feel like that's where all the social stuff comes from,
Yes.
bullying and relationships and
Yes.
You do stuff based on
Standards.
what other people expect you to do, yeah.
Yes, because you're right now I'm not totally dependent on others. I'm trying to get my independence, but yet it's that breakaway kind of part. So I think that's the hardest.
Then there's school and that whole thing where high school, it's if you don't get a right whatever score, can't talk. You can't do this, or you won't get accepted into this. So they have those standards where you if you don't make this mark, you're a failure.
It's a very high stakes time that you're at right now, whereas I feel like in adulthood, so early adulthood or where I am in middle adulthood, it's not like like nothing's happening in my life that's super high stakes. I mean, I suppose I could lose my job, but I could probably just find a new job or work at Best Buy. So I mean, it's not like, boy, I have to get a good score on this one test to mark it. So I feel like you guys are probably at a very peak time here. All right, so that covers Chapter 4, Podcasts on Development. We'll have the test over this eventually, so hopefully you enjoyed listening, and hopefully you learned something.
Shout out to Cami the cat. She is found.
Oh, excellent news, excellent news. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.